doing. It's an early start in the streaming, so let's just jump into this and have a look at the charts. Alright, so my thinking is, at the moment on the daily chart, that we've had this bounce which appears to have come from the median line of this fork line set, and how significant that will be we'll find out probably over the next few days to see whether there's any momentum in this bullish bounce or whether it's just a dead cat bounce. But looking at this, if it was to bounce, you'd be looking for it to probably come up to test some of the exposed points of control that we've been talking about over the last couple of days, couple of weeks. And you'll be able to specifically see those in a couple of charts in a moment. Alright, so my thinking is now that we originally had the reaction off of this upper median line, or this third pivot, and all the way down to the center line, the median line, which is also the bottom of this regression channel as well. It's just a basic regression line set, RAF regression tool, and I've just added in a channel at the bottom and at the top, which is around about 80% of the channel, to find out where it's extended. And that gives you an opportunity to look for retracement trades when it gets into that zone. So found it interesting that we've got this bounce from those levels. Now, we've had a gap this morning, and the gap was pretty significant. The gap was about 100 points, or just under. And it's starting to question these little swings, which I've got on this chart here, which is a 60-minute chart. This high over here at 11,566 is from the beginning of December. So this has been a bearish swing all throughout the month of December. And there's been a series of lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, all the way down to the lower 10,584, which was a few days ago. And since then, we've started to question the most recent confirmed lower high, which is currently at 948. So we're about 80 points below that at the moment, which is not that far. And we've put in a pretty tenuous higher low here at the 10,725 because we've broken this 10,886 high over here. So, you know, this should really be looking to go and test that 948, and if it doesn't, if it fails and then we break out 725, then I think that's going to be pretty interesting for sellers. If we break the 948 and we manage to hold it, then you would imagine that it's probably going to be looking to come and challenge this gap. So I'll be interested to see how that develops today. As far as the volume side of things goes, we've got this profile from yesterday. So let me just take a quick look over here. That's something real quick. Excuse me. So this is the profile from yesterday. And you can see that we've started our life today above the value area, which is the darker grey of the profile here. And natural instinct for most traders would be to look to try and close the gap. And that might work. But you've also just got to be aware of these higher volume zones here. You've got to be aware of the value area high here and the point of control as well. So there's a number of different potential barriers. So we might run down to those, but it doesn't always guarantee that you're going to get a full gap close. So what you don't want to do is get trapped in it. You also don't want to be scared of shorting, of course, but you just got to be aware of those levels. So I think that this little zone that we're currently just about to complete the pass through was a higher volume area from yesterday's price action at early afternoon. And there's a low volume area in here. They tend to be vacuums. Price doesn't want to tend to trade inside a low volume area. So we'll see whether or not it is rejected or whether it manages to get straight through. And I've got the point of control from yesterday at 10,820. So I'll be looking out for that. Daily pivot down there at 10,792 and the value area low at 711. So we're looking to see how we respond. So if this high volume area holds, then you would expect it to be looking to challenge the highs of the day, but also taking out yesterday, which I think we actually may have already done. Yeah, we just about taken out the highs of yesterday. So that's one scenario. That would be the bullish scenario. The bearish scenario is to simply look to go and target and challenge these high volume nodes, because that's where price was happy doing business yesterday, and it's more than likely going to want to try and revisit those zones of balance. It takes quite a lot of force to get outside of a value area, and you can see that this morning with the gap as it just shot straight out of it. So a test of that would probably be expected. So I like to see that, see what happens at 8:39, 8:40. So it gives me about half an hour or so to start preparing for trading, but we'll see whether that just pulls back a little bit more. Get down towards that 820 point of control. That'll be interesting, I think. Any lower than that, well, then we're inside a momentum situation, and that would be great for our intraday strategy. All right, okay, and they're the levels. Let's just go and take a look at the other exposed points of controls from previous days. All right, well, directly above us, we've got the 10,899 level here, which I've arrowed. This is from Thursday? No, Friday. That's the Friday point of control. It's still exposed. I'd expect that to get taken out fairly soon. And I'm currently trapped in between two of them, so one of them will go, I think, today. Whether it be the 10,820 or the 10,899. It's highly likely. They possibly even both could go. So we'll see. If what we saw earlier on, i.e. this, continues, and we take out the 950, and this continues to develop into a more bullish swing, and we look to challenge this gap here, then that would tie in quite nicely with these exposed points of control over here, and maybe the first one would look to get a challenge upon that gap close. So these are the targets that I'm just looking at the moment. Alright, not much more to it than that. So let's just take a look at a couple of these strategies. So yesterday was a nice example of the VWAP retracement strategy. That's this one. On the chart, you've got the blue line, which is VWAP. It's the volume weighted average price. It's a study that's standard on Sierra charts and most charting platforms. You might need a custom study or indicator if you don't have it as standard. And VWAP is used by lots of institutions and lots of algorithms. So that's the blue line in the middle. The outside lines, or the kind of perimeter lines, they're the deviation high and the deviation lows. Two standard deviations away from VWAP, and you can see that generally it starts to expand through the session. Now what I measure is to see how far or how stretched price action is from VWAP, and I compare that to the average candle size, the average true range. And when it goes outside of a certain value or exceeds the distance between price and VWAP exceeds a certain level, certain threshold, then it gives me a different color candle. Orange is the first level. Lime green, which we haven't seen for a few days, haven't got an example of that to hand, would be extremely stretched. Now I tend to only pay attention to these in the afternoon session, so this first one was just before midday, so I'd probably have ignored that. But these were interesting because as soon as you get consecutive orange candles, which you did in this little cluster here, the moment it changes outside of being stretched is a potential retracement opportunity. And so that's the example right there. Consecutive candles, it turns back to neutral again, and then off it goes back to VWAP, back to find its balance. You can see there's a nice little zigzag around VWAP. It's just a simple balance point, and you see it time and time again. So that was quite a nice example of the VWAP retracement, And let's have a look and see what else we've got here. All right, this is just the 60-minute chart, but it's showing a couple of weeks worth of data. And you can see that we're currently on this composite point of control. So there is a possibility that we start to forge out some kind of range as well. You just got to be aware of that. Seems to have been happy doing a bit of business in that area, but I'm not going to put too much stock into that particular chart. And the final one I'm just going to run through is this one from yesterday, which is the intraday trading strategy. I did a video on it yesterday early evening, and I'm going to be using this again today. And the idea is pretty simple, although I don't actually have my VWAP lines on here to help guide me as to whether or not I'm going to be looking for longs or shorts, which ones I'm going to filter out. That was the money maker yesterday, and it happened on all four markets, in fact, at around about similar time. So that would have been the Dax, the Dow, the FTSE and the Euro stocks. All four of them gave a similar buy signal at the same time, which is superb for those that are using the strategy, and members can get access to this. You can even get a free trial of this if you're not a member. You just got to go to the website, and there is a page in the menu which I think is I can't remember the name of it, but it's something along the lines of Dax Trader Strategy. If it's not there right now, I'll make sure it is included, so if you watch this video later, it will be there in the menu. Bear with me if it's not right now. So that was a really, really nice opportunity to get into a trade from yesterday, and we've got about 20 minutes left before we get into a session. Yesterday afternoon there were a couple of other opportunities, and whilst I may not have executed this strategy optimally yesterday, various reasons, I did manage to take advantage of the longs from a different strategy. So both the Dax, the FTSE and the Euro stocks I bought yesterday, and all three of them went to target, so I was very pleased with that, and congratulations if you took that as well. And I'm sure there'll be more opportunity today. Alright, so that is kind of my thinking for today. Big gap, however, not necessarily going to assume that there's an automatic gap close here. For some reason I seem to have lost a bit of data there, unless there was just a mini gap that I didn't see. But there was. Maybe I've just lost a bit of data on my chart. It'll be interesting to see what the futures is. I'll look at that in a minute. So yes, expecting for us to probably go and challenge the value area high first of all, which is set at 10.839. If we manage to take that out, looking for the point of control at 8.20. I don't automatically assume that gap's going to close just because there's a gap. I think that's you see it all the time. A gap begins to close, but it doesn't quite complete. You sort of scratch your head wondering why. And often it's just simply because of the volume of where price was trading before, and value areas and points of control can restrict price from moving. They're barriers. So we'll see whether or not it manages to do that today. But more importantly, I think for me, it's just a case of seeing whether or not we're going to be breaking through this 950 trend-defining level, because we're bearish below 950, technically. And we're starting to show some signs that that's under threat at the moment. So we'll keep an eye on it. All right, that's me. That's what I wanted to run through from this morning. I'll come back later on with a summary video for the strategy, see how we executed that. And if you want more information on anything, you can visit the website, you can contact me on Telegram and all that kind of stuff. Reach out to me if you want to see something specifically, or you want me to cover something specifically, then just let me know. We can do that. But otherwise, have a great trading day, and we'll catch up with you later on. All right, guys, take care.